Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording. Got a few sessions I need to get set up here today, so I thought I'd throw on the camera and show you how I set up sessions for mixing. We're going to be doing a little mixing setup walkthrough today, but before we dive in, if you are ready to go a little bit deeper into the mixing process in its entirety and really start honing your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the thing for you. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and it's just a simple PDF that will walk you through the entire mixing process, step by step, to help you get professional and radio-ready mixes without any more of the guesswork and without any more of the hassle. It is a completely free guide, like I said, and you can download it below using the link in the video description. Now let's jump in here and walk through how I set up mixing sessions. So we're here on the start page of Studio One. We're going to go up to New Song here, and I'm going to use my mixing template is I think what I'm going to use for these tracks here. That's this one here, Session Template. I have a system of folders set up for all my different artists, and they go in their different folders. In the songs folder, I believe the first song is called Meredith. Oh, if I can spell right. I don't know if we have BPM or anything. That should be okay. We can always figure that stuff out if we need to. So it's going to load up my mixing template. Usually takes a second or so because it loads in the Slate Virtual Mix Rack. It loads in Antares mic modeler. If I am tracking live drums, there's a couple different VMRs that load up on the vocals and stuff like that. So should take a second here. Okie dokie, here we are inside the mixing session. I always like to name it and put in the data here. So Meredith, and then our artist is Andrew Robert Palmer. If you haven't checked out Andrew Robert Palmer, a lot of great stuff. An artist from the area up here, up by Chicago. Very, very cool stuff. He's doing a project here with his sister. A lot of cool folk indie type songs going on here. So now you can see I have my mixing session pulled up here. We probably won't use a lot of this stuff, but it's nice to have things like the vocal and the keys and acoustic guitar set packed into folders and ready to go. So let's see which one is which here. That's the second one. Here is Meredith. So what we're going to do is we're just going to copy all of these here and pull them into the session down below. So it's going to load in all of the tracks here. Create tracks for all of them. And then once they're all in here, I like to hit save right away. And it'll usually ask you if you want to copy all of these files to your external drive or to the media folder. Always want to hit yes there. That way if you delete the files that you got from your downloads folder, they're not all going to disappear from your session. Okie dokie here. Looks like a lot of stereo files. So we'll want to make sure these files are actually stereo. This one looks like it's just, yeah. Piano. That's all the way on one side, so that's going to be a mono instrument. So we'll just make sure everything's sitting okay as mono, and as we drag it up, we'll sort these kind of things down here. So let's take a listen through this acoustic guitar here. So it looks like we got all this stuff kind of left in stereo because he's just panning this stuff for us, which is always nice to have. It's a good starting point and a good reference from the artist if you have where they kind of had stuff panned. So it's always a good starting point. We can kind of see our vocals pretty loud here. So as we go through and drag things up, we'll sort our volumes out. I'm going to pull this guitar down 3 dB here. So that's just with a shortcut key I created. Let's see if I can show this to you. If we go up to Studio One, keyboard shortcuts here. And then in the search bar, if you press the minus key, it's right here. So decrease volume by 3 dB, and I just set that to the minus key. So when I hit the minus key, it'll pull down the volume of an audio track by 3 dB. So that's looking a little bit healthier there. We're we're going to drag this audio file up to the acoustics. We'll make it stereo. Doesn't look like we have any other acoustics, so I can get rid of this other acoustic guitar track. Same with this one here. So it's nice to have your template built out so you can kind of just drag things into the template as it goes. We got a couple harmony tracks here. I'm going to pull this first one down by 3 dB just so it's at a more conservative level. Same with this one. These look okay. That one looks okay. So all of these harmonies here, I'm just going to drag all of these up into the background vocals folder. And then I'll get rid of all of my preset tracks here. So we have all of these different harmonies. They're going to get colored purple to match our background vocals folder track. And then our lead vocal here looks quite hot. We're going to pull that back a little bit there. So that's 9 dB, just pulling it down 3 dB 3 different times there using our shortcut. Going to pull the lead vocal up to the lead vocal track. Can get rid of that. It looks like our bass is panned to one side, so we might end up putting that in the middle there. Let's take a listen to the bass track here. Yeah, I'll probably end up putting the bass in the middle. I usually do like my bass guitar straight up the middle. So we're going to drag that up here. This is a mono track, so I can bounce it on this track and it will convert it to a mono file. It's nice to have the reference from the panning from the artist. That way you can hear how they were listening to the track and it gives you a great starting point for everything. But if you need to switch things out, so if you get a track like the bass here where it's panned to one side and you want to put it in the middle, you can either drag it to a mono track like I did here, or if it is a stereo track, you can just click the channel mode here and change it from mono to stereo or from stereo to mono, and that'll set it right up the middle and you can set your own panning from there. We can do the same thing with the acoustic guitar if we needed to there. We got some claps here. These all look pretty hot, so I'm going to pull these down a little bit all together. And I'm going to grab all 3 of these claps and just pull them up here into the drums section right at the end here. I like my claps to be this light blue kind of color. That's usually what I color my percussion. We got a stereo drum track here. It looks like it might be panned a little bit too. Let's take a listen. So that's 2 different things. It sounds like kind of an overhead on the left there, and it sounds like more of a snare drum pan to the right. So we'll take a look at that in a second here, and I'll show you how we can separate that stuff out. I'm going to put this right at the bottom of my drums here, and we'll color it blue like the rest of the drums. We got an electric guitar here. Let's take a listen to that. Nice kind of crunch electric guitar sound there. That looks like it's panned all the way right. Let's take a look here. It looks like there's a little bit there on the left. We're going to pull that up into the electric guitar section onto one of our amp tracks here. I think that's our only electric guitar, so we'll get rid of the rest of these guys here. We'll make that stereo just to preserve the panning there. We have, looks like maybe a background vocal here or a harmony. Let's take a listen here.
I just want you to know you're the...
Yep, female background vocal or female harmony. We're going to drag this up right next to our lead vocal. It actually looks like a dual lead here, kind of doing harmonies with the lead vocal. Cool. We will also color that yellow, otherwise that will bother me later. Don't need that. We got a piano track and a piano punch. Let's take a listen to the piano. Well, let's take a listen to one going into the other here. So here's our piano and then piano punch. Those are both panned all the way right. I think what I'm going to do with these is we'll take both of them up here into the keys folder. And actually I can drag the piano down. Same thing with the piano punch here. And we'll just get rid of both of those tracks. I might switch these to mono because it looks like they are panned all the way to the one side. So I can always flip them to mono tracks. That way there's just not, it looks kind of strange with one side being floating here. So I might switch that later. It doesn't look like we have a harmony or anything else. So we can get rid of that. Unmute our electrics. We'll deal with the bass amp here in a second. Let's take care of our drums here. So it sounds like we have kind of an overhead going on one side and then a snare on the other. So we can get rid of our kicks here. Sounds like we can get rid of most of our toms here. Probably the room track too. What we're going to do here is we're going to split this guy. So we've saved all our files. So we can come up here into our files section and then search in the actual folder for this audio track here. So we want to be in Meredith, and we can go into media here, and this is called, it's just called drums. So we can come here, if we right click on the file, we can split it into mono files. So now we have a drums left and drums right. We'll kind of drag those both in here. So I think on our left side was our kind of overhead sound. So let's take a listen to this here. Yeah, so that's more of an over-the-top picture of the kit. There's everything there. And then our other one, panned to our right, was more of just a spot mic on the snare. So that's nice to have there. We're going to have to pull those both back. So we'll pull our snare back 6, and we'll pull that back 9. The rest of these we shouldn't need here. We won't need the drums, but I'm going to save this just in case. So I have a shortcut here for disable and enable. Otherwise, you can right-click and disable or enable the track. And then another shortcut I created for hide track. So we're just going to hide this back here in case we ever need to get back to it. Same thing here. We're going to finish off our bass guitar. Our drums are looking good. So once I kind of get everything set here, I kind of pull things down. So we don't need the snare level. We don't need our kick level. It's kind of just trimming out stuff for my template here. We don't need the toms level. We'll make sure that's sending to our drums bus. All of those are sending, and I won't need either of these plugins here. Those are just parts of my template. That can come down. We'll kind of move forward as we go here. The bass, I'm going to bounce this to a mono file here, just so we have it as one piece here. So all I'm going to do is Control B right here on our bass, and it's going to bounce it down to a mono file here. Okay, so now we've got a mono signal for our bass here. All I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Alt here, drag it down to our bass amp track. That way I have a copy of it. And then I like to split the frequency. If you've watched any of my videos before, you've seen me do this trick. So we're using our bass DI as our low end signal. And then the one on our bass amp is just our top end signal. So just splitting our frequencies. That way we have control over our low end signal as well as our top end symbol. Moving down here, I think I'm going to do the same thing with our electric here. I think I'm going to split that and then just use the mono signal here. So we're going to come up to our media here. Where's our electric guitar? So we'll split that to mono files and we'll pull in, it looks like the stronger signal's on the right side. So we'll pull in the right side here. Now we have a mono signal. We can pull that up in 3 dB or so. So that's a little bit louder of a signal. That looks okay. I think our acoustic, I'm going to do the same thing onto just for the moment here. So I think we only have one. It just like looks like it's slightly panned. So what we'll do actually is we'll come over here to, where's it at? Acoustic guitar. We'll split it to mono files. Our left side looks like our stronger one. So we'll pull in our left side here. And then you've probably seen me do this before. I'm going to duplicate the track. I'll pull it down in volume there. And then for the one on our second one here, I'm going to delay it by 35 milliseconds. That way we have a stereo signal. So our bass is taken care of here. We're going to flip over. We got our acoustics. So on pan 1 left, pan 1 right. and then we can pull our acoustics level down. Same with our electrics. And even though there's one track for some of these, I still like sending to a bus so I have control. I have another level of control besides the track. So it's track, bus, and then mix bus. Keys. Again, these look like they're mono elements, so I'm going to bounce these to mono elements. We have our piano and then our piano punch. So here's piano punch. And that's on the left side. So we'll pull that in. And we'll call that piano punch. Same thing with our normal piano here. Right click, split to mono files, and then we'll pull in the left side. That was the stronger side there. Those look okay at that level, so we're going to leave those there. Vocal, background vocal, we're going to pull down, or our alternate lead vocal there, our secondary lead vocal, we'll pull down one more. Background vocals are looking okay there. So everything's looking good. Cool. I'm just going to go through once here and name all these harmonies. So you can see there I'm using a little shortcut. If you click on the name, you can type your name, and if you hit tab, you will go to the next track, so you can name the next track. So we're going to just call those harms for the moment. Those will all stay in our background vocals folder, and we can pull all of those down. So we're going to move our buses over here. We'll pull all of these guys down, and we'll pull our lead vocals as well as both of our keyboards down. I'm going to have to mix these separately since they are separate tracks, but they don't sound quite too different, so I might mix them on the bus. That'll be something we'll see when we get there. Everything is looking good here. Last thing I do when I'm setting up my sessions is I do turn on my mix bus processing. So we'll turn on our SSL as well as our tape machine. We'll turn on our console shaper, and we'll throw on our bus limiter there as well. And then when I'm mixing, I usually mix 6 dB down, and then I can pull my level up 6 dB when I get to the mastering stage. So let's go through and make sure everything's routed right here. Snare, overheads, and claps are sending to our drums bus as well as our Bricasti verb here. Bass is sending to bass here, electrics to electrics, acoustics to acoustics, keys to keys, lead vocals to vox, and backgrounds to backgrounds. And then you can see all of our buses here are sending to mix A, and then mix A sends to the mix bus. Last thing we'll do here is we'll turn on our effects, and then we are all set to go. Everything's imported. We got all of our tracks outlined here, sent to their different buses, sorted volume and panning wise, and we are all set to get mixing here. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope it was interesting to see how I go about setting up my mixing sessions. So setting levels, setting panning, going from mono to stereo, all that kind of stuff is important to go through while you're setting up your mix session so you don't have to worry about it come mix time. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you are ready to take your mixes to the next level and really start dialing in your workflows as an engineer, then I have just the tool for you, and it is completely free. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and you can download it below to start creating more professional mixes in less time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.